All right, it's 6:07. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And we're going to start with a roll call.
Member Ash?
Here.
Member Merriam?
Here.
Member Pats?
Present.
Member Dice?
Here.
Member Effel?
Present. Okay. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, everyone. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
Good evening. No changes to the agenda.
Okay. Do we need a formal approval or just affirmation that there's no changes?
I'll move approval for you.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any objections? All in favor? Aye. Okay. The agenda is approved. This is now the part of our meeting for public comment. Do we have any members of the public who wish to comment on items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the school board?
Hello, members of the board. Several of us that are part of the special education team for Emery Unified are here tonight to share some concerns from the Emery Teachers Association.
And can I just verify before you start speaking, are you speaking on behalf of the Emery Teachers Association or as individuals?
Yes.
Okay.
The district is proposing to eliminate a stipend that equals a salary cut of up to 5% that impacts 7 staff in the special education department. Current special ed staff receive an ETA-approved stipend of $2,500 per year. The total cost to the district for this stipend is $17,500. The Emery Teachers Association wants to grandfather in this stipend for the 7 staff members who currently receive it. The stipend was originally incorporated into the contract in 2004. The intent of the stipend at that time was to recruit and retain quality specialized teachers. At the time, the superintendent was committed to providing high-quality experienced teachers to meet the needs of students with special needs, and saw the stipend as a way to retain specialized teachers. 6 of the 7 current staff were recruited using this stipend.
Prior to the stipend, the district had to contract out for specialized staff at a much higher cost to the district. For example, prior to hiring our current speech pathologist, the district paid a contract agency $125,000 per year for a staff member to fill the required position. Currently, ESS has a contracted special education teacher due to the difficulty recruiting a qualified applicant. Given these staffing changes, it seems cost prohibitive to cut the salary of special education staff. The stipend supports special education staff who work after contract hours. This includes attending all IEPs and participation in a variety of other essential meetings, safety planning, behavior planning, student success team, learning center, pre-referral, and informal parent meetings.
The current special education team has kept the district from litigation by being in compliance with the legal timelines, writing IEPs without errors, and providing services as outlined in the IEPs. During the most recent state review, we were the only district within the SELPA with no compliance errors. Our high level of expertise and dedication to Emeryville students has enabled the district to start new programs, bring more students with intensive needs back from more expensive placements, and provide RTI intervention services for the district. Our team has a high success of returning students to general education and preventing others through quality RTI services from being referred for special education.
The number one factor shown to impact successful RTI outcomes is the experience of the teachers. The 6 Annie Yates special education staff have a combined 40 years credentialed experience in the district and 80 years total credentialed experience. Eliminating this stipend would be a pay cut of up to 5% for some staff Other staff are not being asked to take a pay cut. Therefore, we request that the district grandfather this stipend in for current special education staff by adding the $2,500 directly to the yearly salary scale for these staff. Thank you for your consideration of this matter. Sincerely, Emery Teachers Association.
And I'll pass around copies so you can see. We have support from 95% of ETA signatures for this request.
Okay.
So may I just make a comment, President Affel?
Certainly, Superintendent.
I just want to point out to the board that if I understand the proposal that was just made to the board tonight on behalf of ETA and the teachers representing ETA, that they're making a proposal to grandfather the stipend into their salaries for these employees. And I'm a little concerned, and we're going to have to get legal counsel on this, because I believe a proposal was just made to all of you that has not been formally presented to the district's negotiation team. And so we're going to have to ask legal counsel if their presentation tonight just constituted an unfair labor practice. So I just want to bring that to your attention. I am, also, aside from that, which I think is very possible that that's just occurred for us, I'm a little disappointed, or, well, I don't know if that's the right word. It's important for me that our district negotiation team and the ETA, Teachers Association team, work collaboratively and work to for mutual benefit at the table. So I am concerned that while I appreciate people coming out tonight on their own time, I guess I'm concerned because for anyone representing ETA and on behalf of ETA to go around the negotiating team, the district's negotiating team, to try to persuade the board on a matter that's presently in conversation at the table is just kind of a concern for me as well regarding our relationship. So, and well, I'll check with legal counsel and I'll have to get back to you.
Is this on the same topic or different topic? Okay. On the topic, thank you for your presentation. We always like to see our staff come and talk to us. This is a matter that is part of negotiations, and I think I just want to urge you to continue to make it part of negotiations and discuss this at the negotiating table. Thank you. Mr. Carver.
Good evening, President Affelt, members of the board. My name is Brian Carver. I'm a resident of Emeryville, and I have 2 children currently attending Annie Yates. I wrote an email several months back to the board, and well, I actually have 2 items. The first one is the email I wrote several months back to the members of the board and the superintendent about some concerns I had about the turf field surface at the ECCL, and provided some information that at least some health risks may even be associated with some types of this artificial turf and so on. And so, urged you to consider alternatives. And I recently got an email from President Affelt that let me know you guys had considered this in the interim, and I was unable to attend any of the meetings where that discussion occurred. I'm sorry about that. I didn't actually know it was going to be discussed. But I'm really pleased with what President Affelt's email let me know, that you've found an alternative that incorporates organic material, not the rubber tire that is suspected to be part of the problem. And so that's a really exciting improvement to the ECCL project. I wanted to thank you guys for working on that. I mean, of course, grass is always going to be my first choice, though, so I would still encourage you as the project progresses that if you see an opportunity to make that happen, that you keep an eye out for it, because I still think there are advantages there. But the second item is my daughter let my wife and I know a couple weeks back that she wanted to speak to the board, and for a long time refused to even tell us on what topic. And so I now at least have heard her practice it a couple times, and so know what's on her mind. But wanted to let you know that this is something entirely of her own instigation, and even though I'm a person who frequently lets you know my opinions, I'm not putting her up to this, that she's driving the car on this one. And I think I may need to adjust the mic for her to speak.
Okay, all right. Please come forward and announce yourself.
Hello, my name is Cora Carver, and I have attended Annie Yates Elementary for 5 years, and am now in 4th grade. I have been thinking about middle school, and I've noticed that there are not a lot of activities for middle school students. Since Mr. Caraway's passing, we have not had any regular band or music programs. The high school's music teacher came, but then left. We have a choice of library or computer once a week. We used to have gardening and still have the beautiful space, but for some reason we don't have gardening. Some examples of the things I'd like are language classes, newspaper, more art, library and computer, band, and for sports teams, basketball, football, and soccer. I think we should have more activities because school isn't just about academics, it's also about loving to learn different talents. Thank you for your attention.
Very well stated. Future statesman.
May
Or
I make,
woman.
oh, I'm sorry, may I make a comment?
Please.
I just wanted to say thank you, and I think those are excellent recommendations.
So we are not allowed really to engage into discussion, Cora, since this is not an agenda item, but thank you for your recommendations and your comments. And all I can say is that the middle school is also of interest to the board, and we're looking at ways to enrich that program. And Mr. Carver, on the turf issue, there's never been an agendized item about turf, but it has been a matter that various board members have regularly brought up during the regular ECCL presentations. And I think we must have brought it up enough, in part thanks to your suggestions, that staff went ahead and sort of made this change to organic without it didn't need a board decision. It wasn't a board decision, but it certainly had the support of the board, and you helped be a part of that, so thank you. Okay. Any other public comment on any other items? All right, we're going to turn to our reports. Do we have a CSEA report? Do we have an ETA report? Looks like we do.
Should I be okay here at the podium? Can you hear me? No.
We should move that close.
Let me move it. I've got a bad hand. Thank you. Good evening, board members, President Alfeld. It's been a while since I've been with you. And I have to say, Ms. Carver is a very hard act to follow. She has brought up every point that we have discussed for the last couple of years. And every single thing she mentions is something that you guys need to consider and address. But moving on, as far as my report, I'd like to report that we have met, the liaison team has met every month for the last couple of months, and so it's been productive. It's good to report that we have returned to those meetings and that we can circumvent any small problems that may arise, and we've been doing so. And it's been working very well. We're keeping a very open line of communication with Dr. Rubio. He picks up the phone every time I call, and whenever he calls me, I pick up the phone. So it's been working well. I'm going to just talk a little bit about what just transpired with our special ed teachers, and I want to give you some clarification. So this is not an attempt to go around the bargaining that we are presently doing now. They're well aware of the fact that we're still sitting at the table and we're bargaining that particular issue as well as others. It is an attempt to get you, to get ahead of the situation and to make you aware that we're running into some problems, and I don't think that there's any legal liabilities as far as making the board aware of problems that arise during the bargaining sessions. We give our members updates about bargaining, and so it is their time to, speak their voice and have some say-so and try and get their points across so that you fully understand the impact of decisions that are made. It doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people, a 5% cut, but a 5% cut to a single teacher who's only been teaching for a couple of years is significant. And so those are the kind of things that we want you to be aware of, and we will, of course, continue to sit at the table and bargain that out. They're not trying to bargain outside of the bargaining table. A couple of other items that I have. I think the very first thing that I brought to Dr. Rubio's attention was our antiquated system with report cards. We were doing a longhand kind of report card where half of us were writing it out. Some people were doing it on the computer. It would take you literally a couple of weeks to complete if you had 60 kids, 50 to 60 kids, a little less if you had a self-contained class. And so I could not understand why, if Silicon Valley is in your backyard, you couldn't keep up with the pace and at least be in the 21st century. And so Dr. Rubio has attempted to drag us into the 21st century with Illuminate. It has cut my time down to probably a couple of days instead of a couple of weeks. We still need an integrated program where my grade book and the report cards communicate with one another. And so I would like to get to that point where we do one click and then the report cards print. And then I will feel like we're in the 21st century wholeheartedly. But I just want to point out that it was one of the very first things that I brought to his attention. He has been diligently working on it, and we appreciate his efforts. Also, another problem that we were experiencing was finding subs. We had a problem with lack of subs. We also had a problem with subs being called too late or not at all. And so he addressed that by also creating or buying into an automated system. And that automated system, as far as I can tell, has been working extremely well. We get online, we put in the dates that we're going to plan to be absent, and then it sends us back a confirmation number. And I think we have fewer holes to plug since we have put this system in place. And so, once again, I'd like to appreciate his efforts on that. I think it's made a tremendous improvement. We are looking forward to our 2 PD days coming up in February around writing and science, and I'll give you some feedback on that once we have taken part in those 2 days. The first PD I didn't have a chance to give you any feedback on, but I'll just give you a little bit tonight. It depended upon what grade level you're at, and as far as whether it worked really well for you or not. I think overall people really appreciated the time that they were allowed to spend working with one another and gathering information from colleagues as well as the the presenters. And so it was a mixed bag, but we're hoping that the next PD is even better, and I will definitely give you a report about that at the next meeting. Last but not least, I'm just going to ask that this year is, because we have a new Chinese year coming up, I'll dub it the year of communication. So I'll ask that for 2015, moving forward, that we communicate more with each other via emails, phone calls. You call me, I always pick up the phone. So emails, phone calls, text, whatever it takes to get the job done, I'm open. But let's keep communicating, because I always feel like if people keep talking, then we can resolve just about any problem. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Ms. Turner. We don't have our student representative here tonight, so I'm assuming we don't have a student report. Do we have a superintendent's report?
Yes, good evening. First, speaking of communication, thank you for that transition, for your comments. We are transitioning to a new website. It's not entirely ready for prime time, but it is actually up if you Google for Emery Unified. It went up this weekend, but there's definitely still some work to be done, but it will look very different, I think, and it's only one small baby step in terms of the communication issue, but I think it's going to help us a lot as we go along. And again, there is still more work to do, so it got up a little ahead of me, but we're catching up to it. I'm also very pleased to hear that, from what I've heard, I heard from some staff members at Anna Yates that they were happy about some recent bullying training. I think I may have had this into a written update to the board, but in terms of dealing with bullying, understanding bullying, I've heard it's been well received. I heard a small group of parents who came really liked the meeting that they had, and that I heard so far that the assemblies went well. So I wasn't there, but that's what I've heard, and I'm very glad to hear that. And one of the items that teachers at Anna Yates had asked in their survey in June, to me, their anonymous survey, a number of staff had identified bullying as an issue for the campus. I'm really happy that we're trying to make some more efforts in that area, and I appreciate that. And the last thing I just would report is that today I attended the State of the City Chamber of Commerce luncheon, and where the mayor and city manager presented on the state of Emeryville, or excuse me, the state of Emeryville, that's the better way to say that. The current conditions in Emeryville, and where the city is going, and how they're doing, and it was a good luncheon, and I made some very good contacts as well with some members of Stanford Hospital, with some possible internship opportunities that we discussed today. So that's my report today.
Don't be afraid of public words. What? Words that sound the same.
Oh.
That's a fine word to use. You used it correctly.
Okay, the only item I wanted to raise in the board president's report was to let folks know, if they don't already, that the board's semi-annual retreat is this Saturday. We'll be here, 9 o'clock till probably about 3, and that is open to the public. So if you don't have anything else to do with your Saturday, those of you here or listening at home, come on out and listen to the board retreat. Ms. Emery, the agenda is going to be posted publicly tomorrow, is it?
Friday.
Friday. It'll go up Friday?
24 hours.
24 hours.
Oh, 24 is all that we need for special meeting. Okay. Moving on to our consent calendar. Do we have any items to be pulled from the consent calendar by any board members?
Item 1.
Item 1. Anything else? I want to pull item 3, so why don't we vote on item 2? Do we have a motion to adopt minutes of the regular January 14th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a second. Roll call, please.
Member Ash?
Yes.
Member Merriam?
Yes.
Member Pats?
Yes.
Member Dice?
Yes.
President Affel?
Yes. Do you want to announce the vote, Ms. Tamery?
Yes, the board has just approved the minutes of the regular January 14th meeting, the minutes of the regular January 14th board meeting by roll call vote, and it was unanimously approved.
Okay, item 1. Mr. Pats, do you have some questions?
I'm just going to ask that we hold off on this item until Saturday, since we have a meeting coming up so quickly. I had some questions about some things, but I have had a busy schedule and was able to ask them prior to the meeting. So instead of going through them item by item, is it okay if we wait until Saturday so you have more time to get back to me? And I again apologize for getting to you so late.
It's not on the agenda. It's not on the, I'm open to that, but I did email you. You might not have caught what I said.
Yeah, I caught it.
Oh, you got it.
There's still a few more.
Oh, okay, okay. So
Is that okay?
Fellow board members, do you have any objection to Mr. Patz's
Especially not knowing
courtesy
what it is,
request?
so- Especially not knowing what they are, that helps.
the warrant. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, we
It's not gonna
will,
mess you guys up to wait 2 days.
I don't think so. No, 'cause it's, no.
Okay.
okay. Why don't we table item 1, the warrants, and we'll put it on the agenda for the board meeting on Friday. Okay, easy enough. Yeah, item 3 is our quarterly Williams report, reporting on whether or not we've had any complaints about teacher vacancies or misassignments or insufficient instructional materials or health and safety concerns in the facilities. And as I think my fellow board members know, this requirement, this part of the law grew out of the Williams legislation that resulted from a lawsuit that I brought in my capacity of public advocates. And I just pulled it not because I have any concerns about the report on this meeting, but an observation that we, as long as I've been on the board, 2.5 years, we've never had a Williams complaint in any of the categories. So, and that may be appropriate and fine. I hope it is. I do. However, I just want to make sure that we are getting information out to parents, students, community members, what a Williams complaint is and what the district's obligations are with respect to providing fully qualified teachers and sufficient materials and facilities in good repair. So my question is really a request to the superintendent that can you make sure that the Williams notice of the complaint process and what you can complain about is posted in every classroom as required by the law. And I know at times we haven't done that, and then we did do that, and we might have fallen off of that. You know, it's kind of every year we need to just make sure we're still doing that every classroom has that posting. And there is a standardized one that CDE recommends, and it's online. And secondly, that our principals have complaint forms at the school site that they can hand out if a parent or student comes in. Anyone, any member of the community could come in and say, I have a complaint. I heard, look, this is in bad shape. I want to complain about it. Just so we have those available.
Yes.
We can do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any comments on any of it?
I'll just add real quick.
Yes.
I do recall one year when you were here, since you've been here, about insufficiency of textbooks and making sure it was addressed quickly. I remember that. That was, so I remember that. So when you said that, I was like, yeah, probably because you were sitting at the table, made sure that everything was ordered. Remember that first year? Yeah.
Yep.
So you made the level of sensitivity increase by your very presence. So I thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That came about because we followed the procedures
Exactly.
for the sufficiency hearing in the fall.
And new.
It didn't come about through a complaint.
Exactly.
But it did come about through another way to get some of these issues surfaced. But
I recall that.
thanks for reminding us. So is there any public comment on, since we've kind of gone on a bit here? Do we have a motion to adopt the Williams Quarterly Report?
Move approval to adopt the quarterly report.
Okay. Ms. Emery, you want to take a roll call?
Member Ash? Yes. Member Merriam?
Yes.
Member Pats?
Yes.
Member Dice?
Yes.
President Affeld?
Yes.
So the item has passed by roll call vote to accept the Williams Quarterly Report.
All right. Moving on to action items. Our first action item for the evening is the CSEA employee transfer. Superintendent, you want to present the item?
Thank you. Oops, I'm on the right page, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank
You're
you.
ready.
Thank you. Good evening. The purpose of this item is to ask the board's approval to transfer one CSEA employee from their current position of computer technician to technology, the position of technology associate to continue to provide support to our school sites and our district office, and to recognize the actual level of work that this employee now has to do without the district having an IT director.
Do we have any questions about this item?
So is this a transfer or a reclass?
Now, without my HR person in the room, that's a very good question. Transfer or reclassification, I believe it's a transfer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the union signed off on it?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes,
Then I'm done.
absolutely.
Okay, any other?
Sorry, I don't know.
It says transfer, so.
Yeah.
All right. Any comments from members of the public on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'll move. I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Member Ash?
Yes.
Member Merriam?
Yes.
Member Pats?
Aye.
Member Dice?
Yes.
President Affelt?
Yes.
The board has approved by roll call vote the transfer of a CSEA employee.
Okay. A unanimous support for the employee transfer. The next item is Resolution 14 on a local reserves cap. Can you present the item, Superintendent?
Sure. Good evening. Again, the purpose of this item is to ask the board to consider approval of Resolution 14 related to the local reserve cap that we are now looking at as all districts in California are facing.
And I can add a little more information about this item, and I did ask Ms. Emery to circulate to the board members a recent article regarding this topic that was on in the cabinet report, so that's available to the public if you want to Google it on this local reserve cap. But basically, the governor proposed at the 11th hour last June a reserve cap that did make it into the budget and did get passed, and this restricts the discretion of local districts to maintain reserves. And while it's quite complicated, the formula, and the thought was it will be years before this ever even might happen. Apparently our economic situation in California is so rosy that in fact money is flowing into the state coffers, which will flow into the state's rainy day fund that was just approved by voters in the fall, and that will send some money to the separate school rainy day fund, and as soon as $1 goes into the school rainy day fund, then the reserve cap does apply locally, and you have a year, or immediately the districts need to spend down their reserves. So it sort of runs contrary to the governor's local control, local discretion, prudency, and it particularly hurts small districts who are subject to much bigger fluctuations in cash flow. So I am in fully support of this proposal, which is CSBA, the California School Board Association, circulating around the state. I think I agree that we shouldn't be hoarding money and keeping money out of the classroom for wild contingencies, but I do think we need to, especially given the fact that the state is not guaranteeing us sufficient funding to continue, is not guaranteeing us there will be a rainy day fund that will cover any economic downturn. We have to maintain our own rainy day fund. and we ought to have the discretion to do that. So I would urge us to support this. Any other comments on this item? Any public comment? Do we have, oh, I do actually have a minor correction. One of the whereases, Ms. Tamery, needs to be bolded. I don't know how that, was probably a CSBA error. So,
Basic aid,
yeah,
after basic aid, paragraph.
yeah.
They must not have the right attorneys on their staff.
Right. And this was a question really for Ms. Sue. The superintendent may know it as well. It makes reference to somewhere in here 4%.
At the bottom.
Yeah, bottom of the first page, third whereas from the bottom. Whereas the governing board of the Emery Unified School District currently maintains a reserve of approximately 4% in order to meet cash flow needs. Is that an accurate statement? That may be a boilerplate statement. We may have more in our reserves, or if they're just referring to we do have a reserve of 4% for economic uncertainty.
For Emery size, the reserve is 4%. And getting back to your item on the Prop 98 reserve, for a district that less than 400,000 ADA, the cap is going to be twice of the minimum. So for Emery, it will be 8%.
Yeah.
Do we want to enter that into this document?
The 8%?
8%?
No, I don't think so, because it's talking about what our current reserve is. Is it accurate to say we currently maintain a reserve of approximately 4%? Isn't it more accurate to say that's our
Right
reserve?
now,
Hold on. That's our reserve to meet economic uncertainty.
Right now, the reserve for the uncertain economic condition is 4%. But what I'm saying on the new Prop 98
no, I
reserve.
understand you're making a
Yeah.
separate, that we will, the ultimate cap could be 8%.
Yeah, it's twice of the minimum
Yeah.
required.
Which is about 6 weeks of operations or something. I
Yes.
mean,
Mhm.
it's not, even at 8%, it's not much of a reserve if the state really experiences kind of problems we saw just 4 or 5 years ago.
And also, I just want to make a comment as a fiscal person. I think I'm opposed to that Prop 98 reserve because I really think the district, they know what they need on their reserve is better than what the voters know about how much that we need.
Yeah, well, the infrastructure of it was set up by policymakers in Sacramento, and one of many provisions approved by the voters. It's really the governor's architecture.
Yes, and I just wanted to share with the board in my last small district, which was not very much larger than our district, several years ago, before I arrived, our reserve was at about 11%. And through the economic downturn, Live Oak Elementary School District was one of the few in the area that didn't have to take furlough days. And it was only because that they had a sufficient reserve for a district their size. So it is particularly very, much more delicate, I believe, for small districts like us.
It really is.
Yeah, and it's a good question of what was our percent reserve and how did, I don't know the answer of how, where Emery's was during the downturn. But I do know, even though it was before I was on the board, similarly, Emery Unified was able to stay at 180 days, no furlough days, was able to stay, quite unusually, at class sizes of 20 in K-3, was able to maintain a library when most districts cut, was able to maintain school nurses. I mean, we kept things
Parcel tax.
that yeah, thanks to the parcel tax and our reserves,
Yeah.
that most districts had to cut. And I'd like us to be able to deal with similar economic uncertainties in the future. And I think we're going to be able to better set that than a one-size-fits-all state policy. So, on the last point, I guess I would say what we should amend this, just to be clear, that we currently maintain a reserve for economic uncertainty. That's what I would insert, Ms. Emery, in the paragraph with the 4%.
Add those 3 words.
Yeah,
For economic
after
uncertainty.
reserve, a reserve for economic
Reserve.
uncertainty
Reserve for economic uncertainty.
of approximately 4%, et cetera. Other than that, I would move that we adopt this resolution with that amendment.
I'll second.
Got it.
Ms. Tamery, do you want to take a roll call?
Member Ash?
Yes.
Member Miriam?
Yes.
Member Pats?
Yes.
Member Dice?
Yes.
President Affelt?
Yes.
The board has, by roll call vote, unanimously approved Resolution 14, the local reserves cap, with the amendment to add the words for economic uncertainty after reserves. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That concludes our discussion and action items for the evening at 6:49. I think it's an all-time record. We're on to board reports and announcements. Do we have any board reports or announcements?
Finance Committee.
Not doing it.
Finance Committee.
Okay. Yeah, would you like to?
I can recap
All
the
right, do
Finance
a recap
Committee.
of the Finance Committee.
Let me find the agenda. Finance Committee met this evening prior to the meeting and discussed some of the outcomes, some of the possibilities based on the governor's budget proposal, and discussed some components of the RDA loan that the board heard earlier in the fall. And the goal is to hear more about that in the future meeting, and maybe some clarity being brought to the board at some point. Also discussed the developer fees, as we discussed in the previous open session or the previous regular board meeting. And that documentation is still being addressed and will come back to the board sometime in the next month, I believe, February. And that concluded our meeting. That's it.
Excellent. Is there a facilities meeting report?
No,
No.
not until, I think we meet in February next, so we didn't have a January meeting.
Okay. Any other reports or announcements? All right, seeing none, the calendar review. As I mentioned, we have our semi-annual board retreat this Saturday. It says 8:30 on the online agenda, but that is going to be 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
9 to 3, yeah. And
You people.
Mr. Pats wanted to get there at 7.
7:15.
He wanted 7:15, yeah.
Be
Okay.
done by noon.
Our next regular board meeting is February 11th, and there's a good chance, Member Dice, that I will be out of town, and you will be presiding at that meeting. The Superintendent's Finance Committee will be meeting again February 25th, and the Facilities Committee is still determining its date. I thought you had a date.
You have to tell me. I don't
Okay.
remember.
Still
It must be in
determining.
conflict it must be conflicting with the PD or something, so I don't know.
Oh, there's a conflict currently with our 2 PD days next week that I'm
Oh,
involved
okay.
with.
And the facilities meeting? you said?
Yeah.
All right. So, to be determined is accurate. And as we mentioned, the district-wide professional development days, February 5th and 6th. No school on those days, Thursday and Friday. And the rec center is providing camp.
Yes, the rec center, a part of our notice home to parents that we mailed over the holiday break and that we sent home, I believe, last week, and will probably go again this week, lets parents know that, again, the rec center is open. They should sign up to become a member if they're not. And I believe the drop-in rate is $30 per day for K through 8 students.
Do you know if parents need to sign their children up beforehand, or can they show up that morning?
It's my belief that the city, and I think we might have this in the letter. I know we did it in the fall, that we've asked parents to sign up ahead of time. I'm fairly certain staff would accommodate them on the same day, but I think we're pushing to, if a parent wants to send their child and they haven't become a member, that we're trying to get them signed up ahead of time.
All right. So if you're listening at home and you want to utilize the rec center, make those arrangements in advance. And with that, at 6:53, we are adjourned.
Record time. Thank you, sir.